for, what month are we? June. Do we have an application for attending meeting by video link?
Yes, Madam Chair. There was one application from Councillor Flaherty, and I believe she's waiting online.
I've just joined.
Yeah, councillors, you'll need to just move that she attend via video link.
Move that way. Councillor McPhee, seconder. Councillor Campbell, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Any apologies? Neil?
Nil received.
Any declarations of interest?
Neil, Madam Chair.
Okay, public participation. We have John McFadden, who is the applicant for the development application 30-2022 helipad. If you'd like to come forward and. Oh, okay.
Thank you, councillors.
John,
I will be available to answer any questions from the panel. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions now? No? Okay. We also have Kim Daniels, also for the proposed helipad for the development, speaking against. Kim, would you like to come forward?
Firstly, Council forwarded a letter dated the 8th of June 2022 to residents who had voiced a written objection to this proposal. Some residents received the correspondence on the 9th of June, others the 10th of June, with Council requiring a request to address this meeting to be completed by the 10th of June. This timeframe was totally inadequate, and Monday, June was the public holiday. Where is the due process? Also, 5 minutes is not enough time to address 136 pages we received on Thursday. Again, I am requesting an extension to address this meeting to allow adequate time to respond. This is a new situation facing Marywall community. To my knowledge, this is the first proposal for a privately owned helipad to be harboured within the Marywall township, or the first to be proposed in a residential backyard within our town and the Upper Hunter Shire Council. They should investigate thoroughly before making any recommendations, including investing in independent investigations of their own reports for the impact of this development, which would have on our community. I am not objecting to the helipad itself. I'm objecting to the location of the proposed site. I take offence at Mr. McFadden's assumptions that objections for his proposal were made by jealousy, as he considers himself wealthy. Loud intrusive noise from helicopters is perceived the same way whether you are wealthy or not. The following should be investigated. According to the Upper Hunter Land Use Strategy, Table 15, proposed rural zoning and minimum lot size options. The minimum area for a subdivision for an area zoned RU1 primary production is 400 hectares or 100 hectares within a 20-kilometre radius of town. Why has this site been zoned RU1?
Yeah.
Biodiversity and natural ecosystems. Mr. Ross Wellington's letter advised that this was a desktop evaluation of the New South Wales BioNet Atlas database. Mr. Wellington has not visited the site. I provided council with photographs of endangered species of native fauna. Why has this not been taken into consideration? The Acoustics Australia report found noise ranges between 80 and 90 decibels. However, Mr. McFadden has stated the noise level is only 47 decibel in testing. Acoustic Australia also state nearby sensitive receivers will be highly impacted by a helicopter, but comment that this is acceptable. I find this statement quite ambiguous. Appendix I. Mr. McFadden comments the surface of the helipad will be maintained at a minimum of 70% coverage. The turf that Mr. McFadden refers to is in fact plains grass, which offers little or no ground coverage to suppress dust or oil erosion. This is my backyard during the recent drought. Appendix II. What further stipulations will council impose on Mr. McFadden to avoid creating further emissions? Mr. McFadden's referenced a heliport submission in Sydney CBD. There are no similarities between each submission. This proposal is for a private helipad within a rural township. How does this proposal relate to Council's mission statement of a quality rural lifestyle? Guidelines for the operation and establishment of onshore helicopter landing sites. Does Council guarantee that this application complies with all these guidelines? Appendix 3. If a proposed HLS is to be located near a city, town or populous area, or any other where noise or other environmental considerations make helicopter operations undesirable, the proposal may be subject to the provisions of the Commonwealth Environment Protection Impact of Proposals Act 1974 and parallel state legislation. Has this been investigated? The Upper Hunter Shire has spent millions upgrading the Scone Airport. Why has Mr McFadden chosen to ignore this facility? We note this development is for King George, the 5th Avenue. According to Merriwar Conservation Area, the conservation area includes all of King George Avenue, which is encompassed in this site. Appendix 4. The Tweed Shire has implemented laws to protect residents and recommend a minimum distance between helipads and residents at 250 metres laterally and 305 metres vertically. The Upper Hunter Shire must put in place similar laws to protect its residents. Appendix 5. Helicopters have been shown to be a major source of dust and harmful components of particulate air pollution. No pollution testing of any kind has been submitted for this proposal. Appendix 6. I request extensive testing on site to be completed before a decision is made. Thank you. Did I
Thank you,
get in
Kim.
5 minutes?
You did,
Oh my
you
gosh.
did very well.
Oh.
Just stay there. Has, any of the councillors got questions? Councillor Collison? Campbell, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Kim, for coming across to addressing the council, the committee meeting. Some of the things that you brought up was with dust. We are now looking at the dust suppression that is in a good season where there is ample, usually green foliage around. However, the particular grasses I'm fully aware of, they do dry off and they don't offer protection. And when they get dry and we call dead, they're not actually dead, but the leaves and the stalks and that sort of thing are dead. They break up into fine particles. Yes. I'm wondering whether that has been taken into account. Have you seen any of this take place on that particular block? And the second thing is, where is the residence? Is it close by or not?
Yes, mine is one of the immediate residents to the west. It's under 200 metres. I haven't actually been able to access the site because it's got electric fences, barbed wire, security cameras around it. So I can't get there to actually measure exactly, but I'd say that it would probably be, my boundary would be 130 metres from this proposed site. So Merriwar, as you know, can be quite dusty. Even witnessing Mr McFadden mowing his lawns the other day, it showers my place with dust if it's the westerly wind. So for him to land a helicopter on that site would be detrimental. But, you know, it's just incredible the dust that creates. And we all know, and we're all respective of our neighbours in Merriwar. Like, if my neighbours on the other side have got their clothes on the line, I just don't mow near there to be respectful of the neighbour. We just think that a helicopter landing, which unfortunately I wasn't there on the day that he did all the testing. I was only told about it, so I don't know, and I didn't see what actually occurred. So.
Any further? You've got another one, Councillor Campbell?
Yes, I do. In that particular area, it's a residential, quiet residential area. And do you know of any of the neighbours that work shift work that would become a disadvantage to the helicopter flying in? Could you elaborate on that just shortly, please?
Absolutely. In the immediate vicinity that I know of, there's approximately 15 shift workers because we've got the mines close by. So obviously there's a lot of shift workers in the area, and that's only in the mines that I know of, but could be a lot more in say, emergency in the hospitals and things like that. So yes, it will impact their lives in a huge way. So, you know, you can't people's health and safety, and especially the people that are working in the mines. They're driving nearly an hour to work and then back again each day. So if they have lack of sleep, that causes major concerns for our roadways. Also, my house is the actual home of John Roper, the early explorer. So it's a very historical house in the area. Obviously being built in the 1890s, we have no insulation in the walls. We have no double glazed windows to protect ourselves from noises from the outside world. So yes, of course, we've got traffic noise. That's a given because we're on the Golden Highway, but you know, we would impact it so much more than the majority of the other residents where their houses have been built a lot later. The neighbour on the west side of me, their house is double brick, double glazed windows, and they were home on the day of testing and they could not believe what was going on. They thought the helicopter was landing on their roof, and they've all rushed out of their
Thanks,
buildings.
Kim.
to
I think
see.
we got off the off the question.
Yep, sure.
Councillor Flaherty, were you wanting to ask a question?
No.
No?
No.
Everyone else okay?
Mhm.
No further questions? Thank you very much. Moving on with our agenda, there's no site inspections. Our business item, and our first business item is ECSC 6.1, development application, which is for the helipad. Someone like to move the recommendation or? No?
I can move it.
Move any recommendation, yeah?
Yeah, I can move it.
Move, councillor McPhee. We have a seconder? I'll second it.
So I'd just like to bring a few points. Just moving it doesn't mean you are going to vote for it. I'd just like to say, pursuant of section 4.15 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, the proposed development is inconsistent with the objectives of the RU1 primary production zone, as it is likely to increase conflict between land uses within the RU1 zone and land uses with adjoining zones. It does not support sustainable primary industry production or diversity in primary industry enterprises and systems appropriate for the area. Number two, pursuant of section 4.151B of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, the proposed development is likely to have adverse impacts on the amenity of surrounding properties with respect to noise and dust. Pursuant to section 4.151B of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, the proposed development is not in keeping with the existing and intended residential character of adjoining land. Of the section 4.151C of the same act, the site is not suitable for the proposed development given its proximity to existing resident properties and underdeveloped land that is zoned R1 general residential. Pursuant of E of the same act, the development is not in the public interest given its likely impact on surrounding properties and the unsuitability of the site. In addition to that, there seems to be a lot of concern in the community. Even though petitions aren't technically recognised, it does show that there is a lot of community concern. And I think these things need to be taken in consideration when we're deciding on this DA.
Thanks, councillor McPhee. Even though you've spoken against, that's fine. Does anyone want to speak against the recommendation? Yeah.
Yeah, look, thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I think that this particular proposal has just been planted in Merriwell because it's a nice, quiet little town. But all of these residents we have all been there for many years. And there's prospective lots that would want to purchase those land and build on those lots. And I think if we allow this sort of thing to happen, then this will negate many of those people who want to build in that particular area. I just do not understand why that someone from outside come in and actually decided this and purchased, locked the gates, put an electrified fence around and security thing. I just think it's an affront to the residents of Merriwell.
Thank you, councillor Campbell. Anyone like to speak for the recommendation? Any further against? I'd just like to say, look, when the community of Merriwell speak, even though it's in the form of a petition, there's quite a number of names there, and I think they need to be heard.
I think also we have a fantastic airport in Scone. I think that would probably be a more appropriate place to land a helicopter. It's not a very long drive from the airport to Merriwall. I would suggest that we encourage the facilities that we currently have are used as opposed to this.
Thank you, councillor McPhee. We've got a for and against. We've got a mover and a seconder. All in favour?
Sorry, Madam Chair. Can I just clarify?
Yes.
So the motion is from councillor McPhee, is that council refuse development application number 30 of 2022 for helipad at number 4 King George Avenue, Merriwall. And councillor McPhee has stated the reasons for refusal, I understand. So we have a move. I don't think we had a seconder for that motion.
No.
We did? Oh, sorry, councillor Watts, seconded. Sorry, thank you.
So is everyone right?
This is not, we're going against this, that the council approve, we are at council refuse. What we're voting on now, aren't we?
So I can just jump in. Councillor McPhee, the actual recommendation that the director read out is a refusal. So if you're supporting the refusal, you'll need to vote for it. I just wanted to make sure people understood which direction they're voting. So if you're against the application proceeding, you need to vote for the refusal.
Are we clear? Are we sure? Okay. Okay, for refusal. We've got a mover and a seconder. All in favour? I've got to vote, don't I? Against? We're not on the committee. Okay,
Madam Chair, the voting will be recorded.
it will be recorded. It was unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to ECSC 06.2, development application number 202, 2021, subdivision of land into the 2 lots. It's on page 137. Would like to move that way. Move councillor McPhee, second councillor Campbell. Any discussion?
I have a question. So
We've actually got Brett Hales here. Would you, if we've got a question for, or was it a question for Matt, for the director? Thanks, Brett.
Morning.
Councillor McPhee, you had a question?
So the concern is the stormwater issue. Is there any recommendation that we could do to put in place for an easement or something like that? Or what are your thoughts on that process?
The subject lot, as you know, falls from the street towards the west. There's no formal drainage system within Hill Street that is available. So if an easement was obtained, which is generally very difficult to get, and you placed a pipe and a pit system within that easement, it really has nowhere to go anyway. It will only have to come back out on the road network. The current proposal is just to pick the roof area up of the dwelling and take that back into Hill Street by the curb, which really leaves the driveway as the only impervious element that can't be diverted to the street because of the natural fall of the land.
Any further questions? I can't see councillor Flaherty.
No, I'm fine.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we've got a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Brett. Thank you. We're going to move in a second for the refusal of the development application. All those in favour? Against? Carried, unanimous. Moving on to ECSC 6.3 Development Application 71, 2022, consolidation of 4 lots and subdivision into 2 lots on page 167. Council approved the development application for the subdivision and consolidation of 4 lots into 2. Guernsey Street Scan, subject to the conditions of consent in attachment 1. Do we have a mover? Councillor Campbell, seconder, Councillor McPhee. Any discussion? Question?
Yeah, Madam Chair, only the fact I think it's a great outcome, quite frankly. I think it's really going to benefit not only Scone, but all those visitors that come in, and it just couldn't be a better recommendation that I certainly support.
Totally agree with you. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimous. Concludes our meeting for today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.